Coming up today on That LTD Life, the old saying goes that the money is in the list, but maybe we need to revise that for 2024. The money goes to the list. Have you seen how much these email subscriptions are costing for things like ConvertKit and ActiveCampaign? You practically need to take out a second mortgage to be able to pay for them. That's why I'm excited to check out Blastable on AppSumo. Just $59 once you get email marketing for life. But is it any good? That's what you're about to find out. I am Dave, by the way, from ClientAmp.com, and I'm going to be reviewing Blastable from top to bottom, tell you exactly what I don't like as well as what I do. This is not a sponsored video, so if you want to support me, click on my AppSumo link in the description before making a purchase for anything at AppSumo. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going to jump right into the tool here. We'll get to the plans and pricing later, but there is a few items to address. First of all, it's currently on sale. Blastable is on sale for, roughly the next 6-7 days here. Pricing goes up on September 23rd. Doesn't look like this is exclusive to Plus either, so I don't know what the new pricing is going to be. Typically, it goes up by $10 or $20 per license tier. The other thing I'm going to mention is that tier 1 and 2 are on a different plan than 3 and above. You get more features with 3 and above. So I actually am using tier 3 to make this review. So we'll go through all of the features throughout the video, and I'll point out what is available on what tiers later on. All right, so here's my account. I've been playing with it already to get a lay of the land for you to make this video nice and concise and direct to the point. The things I usually like to do when I get into a new email marketing application is add in my contacts. So let's start there. How do you import contacts into Blastable? Well, we're gonna head over to contacts and add contacts. Then from here, we actually need a list to import the contacts to. So a list is essentially like a folder or a bucket that holds all of our contacts. I can create one right here. It's basically just a link over to create email list, right? So it's going to take me to that same place in the navigation. Let's go ahead and create the list here. I always like to have one that just contains all of my contacts. So I'll just make this first list be called all contacts. I do need both a list name as well as a display name. I'm just going to make them be the same thing. There's no reason you can't. You get the option of double opt-in or single opt-in. I'm a single opt-in kind of guy. What are you? Leave me a note in the comments. Double opt-in or single opt-in, which do you prefer in 2024? The advice used to be always double opt-in, but a few years ago, it seemed like all of the gurus were switching over to single opt-in. So let me know what you've had the most success with. The last thing you need to do for your list is to assign a sender profile. This is one of the features that is only available in tier 3 and above, where you can have multiple sender profiles. So you could essentially have multiple businesses running on the same Blastable account. For now, I'm just going to go with the one I created in my onboarding sequence. The onboarding sequence, very, very straightforward, by the way. I didn't record it. It simply is just like filling out your name and address and then validating your sending domain. I'll show you that stuff later on. All right, so let's go ahead and create this list. It is now created. You can see it has no total contacts right now. Let's change that. We'll go back over to contacts and then hit add contacts, upload our list here. I was already playing around with this and I uploaded some contacts before. I even had the same list name, so don't be confused by that. All right, I've got a CSV file here. I just exported from another email application. I'm going to drop it right into this drop zone and then I'll hit upload. Now, a few things to point out here as I go ahead and map the fields. First of all, if you have a big list and you want to dump them all into Blastable, well, hold your horses, because until your account is shown to be a reliable sender, they will only let you import a list of under 1,000 contacts. So if you're planning to buy this LTD, send out millions of spam messages, maybe think again, because they're going to hold up on you for that one. But for otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward process. They simply just map all of the fields that exist. So I've got first name, last name, email. Those were on my CSV, so they match perfectly. Phone number does as well. The other fields that were on my CSV, creation date, contact created days, company, gender, and date of birth, well, those fields don't exist in Blastable, so I'd have to map them somewhere. Here are the fields that are available. None of those match up, but you can actually add your own custom fields under settings. So you just go to custom fields here, and then if there's important data from your old provider that you want to bring in, set those up ahead of time, and that way you can map them as you do the import. Also, you might want to, later on, just get specific data from your customers. You can map those into custom fields as well. But for now, all of the other settings look good to me. I'm going to go ahead and hit next here, and I'll choose the list I want it to import to all contacts, and I'll hit add contacts. Now, this is something that does not happen immediately, I will add. Even though I've got a very small list here, it's only got 19 contacts in it. It's going to actually email me, let me know that everything went through successfully. And here is what that email looks like. You can see I've got all 19 successfully processed, but there is a little bit of a delay between the time you import them and when you can start sending. So it says it might take a few minutes to a few hours to be approved. I assume they're doing some kind of email validation at this point. I'm not entirely sure what their process is, but you can see here it says pending approval. Now, in my experience with a very small list, this happens almost instantaneously, like within about 90 seconds or so it's approved. I've not done it with a larger list, so I don't know for certain, but let's go ahead and reload here and we'll see if we are now approved. Now it still says pending approval. And there we go, it is now active. I didn't even need to reload the page, it happens automatically. So now that I've got my contacts in, the next thing I want to do is actually send them an email. But before we do that, I want to show you one other way to manage your contacts. So like I mentioned before, a list is like a bucket or a folder that your contacts live in. In order for a contact to get into a list, you have to put them in there and you have to take them out. But there's something else inside of email marketing, and I'm glad to find that Blastable supports this, called segments. Segments are dynamic, meaning that if your contact fits some criteria, they'll show up in the segment. Really, a good way to think about segments is like a saved search. So let me show you what I mean. This is definitely something that's easy to see and understand than it is to just hear words and get it. So I'm under manage here and I'm going to go to segments. I don't currently have any segments created. So I'm going to make a new one right here. And I will call this segment Gmail. And I'm going to choose my list as kind of my bucket to be sorting from. This is kind of like if I'm doing a search, I have to give it some context. Are we searching the entire web or are we just searching a website? Like you could do that on Google, right? Well, in this case, we're going to be using all of our contacts as the pool to pull from. We can also exclude lists, by the way. So let's say you had a list of buyers and you didn't want to create segments with those buyers, or maybe you only wanted to use buyers. You could exclude everyone who has not bought, so on and so forth. All right. Once we've got that all configured, we're going to set up some conditions here. So I'm going to click add condition. And in this case, I want to find everyone on my list that has a Gmail email address. So I will go under contact information. You can see there's a lot of them here. Some of them are more marketing related, like whether or not they opened or clicked something. But in my case, I want to go to domain and I'm going to choose equals and then I'll choose Gmail, which is the first option here. There's a lot of other options. One thing I don't see, which I would like to see, is the option to custom type my own. Like if I had a company and I wanted to create a segment of everyone in that company to be able to email them and sell them a specific product, I can't do that. So that's a little bit disappointing. But otherwise, if you're just doing this for deliverability purposes, maybe trying to segment out, like a really common one is the Outlook properties, the MSN, those types of email addresses. Those are really hard to reach for a lot of companies. So you might want to segment them out and address them independently. By the way, you could also exclude a certain group as well. So you can be all contacts, not Outlook. So that would be another really good option. In fact, let's do that. I'm going to change my segment on the fly, not Microsoft. I don't know if any of my 19 contacts are from Microsoft, so we're about to find out. Let's hit create segment. And right away, it's going to show me I've got 19. So everybody on my list is not from a Microsoft property. Good to know. If I wanted to view my segments, I could click right over here and I'll see all of the matching subscribers. So I could just confirm here, yeah, none of these are actually using a Microsoft address. All right, let's make sure this actually works. I'm going to change the domain to equals and then Gmail because some of these are definitely Gmail accounts. And I'll go down to the bottom and I'll hit save changes. And now my segment only has 11. And again, I can show the matching subscribers. And yes, these are all Gmail accounts. Okay, so we got lists, we got segments, we've imported our contacts, everything is going smoothly. Let's look at how we can actually contact people. There's a few options here. Before we go any further, I just have to say there's this one thing about Blastable that really bothers me, other than the color scheme. Like, are we trying to pick whether it's a boy or a girl? What is with the blue and pink? But I digress. Here's the one thing that really bothers me. We've got an option for create, and then we got an option for manage. They're the exact same sub options underneath. There's really no reason for the create option to exist. It just saves you a single extra click. So for example, let's say I want to send an email blast, AKA a newsletter, or just, not part of an autoresponder. I just want to send people an email. I can click right here under create blast and I go right into creating the new email blast. But if it worked the way all other software works, I would go under manage email blast and then just create new right here, right? So if this section didn't work, there'd be one extra click in every step. But you know what? I still got to go under here and think the cognitive extra load of like, am I creating or am I managing? I don't know. It feels like this could be cleaner, but that is a small nitpicky thing. That's what I'm here for. All right, so onward, let's actually start building out our email. I want to show you the editor and then you can see whether or not, I mean, to me, that's kind of like the big part of choosing an email tool. All of the features under the sun can be amazing, but if I don't like using the editor, if it's like kludgy to actually write the email, I'm out. I'm probably not going to use that tool. So let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so I'm creating a new email blast. I've given it the name My First Email. I'm going to choose all of my contacts, and I could just use a segment as well. Like for example, I don't need to choose a list. I can just go right to the segment and that's got contacts in it. And you can exclude lists here as well. So if you didn't build a segment, you just wanted to, kind of do it on the fly, you could do that. Okay, so I'm gonna send this blast to my not Microsoft, which is actually now Gmail. I didn't relabel it. I'm gonna send it to them. I'll go to next and I'm right inside of the email editor. So my sender profile is up here. I can add a subject line as well as a preview text. It does support tokens, by the way, which basically means placeholders. So if I click right here, I can see the placeholder for like first name. So you can be like, hey, first name, it's really great to email you again. The personalization of emails is kind of expected these days. So I'm glad to see there's an option for it. Now, a few important things here. There are templates in this application, but we've got to create them. It does not come with any. That doesn't mean that you have to build all of your emails from scratch. The builder itself actually has these little blocks, which I find incredibly useful to build out an email with. So let's say I wanted to add an image with a subheadline. I could go ahead and do that. And maybe I can start off with some large text up here. You can see you can just drag and drop kind of the layout of your overall email. Kind of like wireframes, you get some different layouts. You can just easily drag and drop them in. Looks really, really good. And then updating these is very easy. You can just simply click and upload the image that you want. Here are some tacos, and now they're inside of my email. So that's kind of their wireframing system, but we can also have templates that we've created and then save. When you go to create a new blast, you can just grab that template, update your content, and you're good to go. We'll look at that later on, but really it's just right over here on the sidebar. There's also AI built right into this application. Of course there is. Let's click over here and try this out. All right, so I'm just gonna tell it to write an email about the latest tool on AppSumo, Blastable, and then I copied and pasted a little bit of the AppSumo sales page. Let's hit let's go. It says hang tight, something awesome is happening. And there we go, we have an AI generated email. Now, is this as useful as it could be? Probably not. It would be better for this to be in line. There is an option to insert it into the email. So if I click this right here, it's gonna just dump that big block of text right into the email. And then of course I could, add other elements around it. But if I wanted to drop images, let's say like inside, it gets to be a little bit harder to do because now everything is living inside of this one container. So while the AI implementation is there, I think it's just kind of the bare minimum for how useful it is. I still would probably go out to something like Claude where it already has all my data and it knows more about my products and services, and I can easily generate, more relevant text. But overall, the editor is pretty good. I don't really have any problems with it. You can see I can still open up this item over here and maybe add a section, just drag and drop it where I want it to go. It's, I guess, a little bit fidgety, like in terms of getting it to land where you want. But, if it doesn't go in the right spot, you can obviously just move it. It keeps wanting to default to above. So I'll just put it above and then I can simply grab these handlebars and move it down. Oh, maybe I can't. We'll do the opposite. We'll move this one up. There we go. If you're wondering about plain text versions of your email, that is included. It's going to automatically generate plain text versions, and you can even set it to be only plain text if you prefer. Now, we've been looking at what they call the drag and drop editor. If you're a developer, you just enjoy seeing the code, or maybe there's something that you can't get to because of the user interface experience, you can go over to the HTML editor where you get kind of a side-by-side view of, looks more like the old school WordPress editor over here, the, kind of WYSIWYG editor, and then you can see the code over to the left. By the way, you can go back and forth between these. So here is my email currently. I'm in the drag and drop editor. If I click over to the HTML editor, I could mess with the code over here and then go back into the drag and drop editor. If you don't want to see that split view, there's a third option, which is to view the HTML source, where you can actually go ahead and just modify anything you want here. You can write in this, it looks like a preview screen, but no, you can actually just delete stuff. Let me show you. Boom, gone. Now I'm not going to save this, but I will close it. I want to jump back just a second. When we were talking about the AI copywriter, there's one little mistake that I've noticed a few times. Every single subject line that's been generated has been longer than the maximum allowed. So the AI copywriter wrote this message here, this subject line, and it's over 60 characters. So interesting that they don't update that to have like more precise limits on the prompting, because they're obviously using some prompting here to generate the subject line. They could do that to just make sure it doesn't go over 60 characters. But right now I just have to take out some text. When you get the email just how you want it, you can go ahead and send a test email right here, which I'm going to try this out and I will send it to myself. Hit send test blast. And here is the test email. It came through practically instantly. I swear the second I hit the button, it showed up in my inbox. So very impressive there. Overall, the email looks pretty good here. I'm going to open it up on my phone and just be sure it looks good there as well. Actually, not great on the phone. The mobile responsiveness isn't how I'd like it. The text is too small and the entire design is kind of off to the side. So hopefully I can fix that in the editor. Yeah, actually, even just checking Blastable's own emails on my phone, they don't look the greatest. So I'm going to assume that this is something they still need to work on. And it's obviously critical to improve because so many people check emails on their phone. I'm using the default Apple Mail app, which is used by, probably a billion people in the world. So on desktop, looks great. Mobile still needs work. Let's proceed to the next step. After we've sent out an email newsletter, maybe we want to set up a sequence that we can drip out to new subscribers. For this, we're going to go to something called autoresponders. Now, critical here inside of Blastable, we have autoresponders. We also have automations. Automations, I believe, are just part of that upgraded package tier 3 and above, whereas everyone gets autoresponders. So let's check this out. So I actually genuinely like how the autoresponders feature works inside of Blastable. It's a little bit old school internet marketing, but that hits a soft spot for me. So let me show you how it works here. It's dead simple. I'm going to create a brand new autoresponder. I'll call it Buy My Stuff. Select a list. So these are the people that are going to be getting the autoresponder. You can have suppression lists as well, which are to exclude. And I've created my list. It says your list has been created. And next, what we do is just add messages. It's dead simple. Simply hit add autoresponder message, give the message a name. I'll call this one message 1, maybe welcome. I'll trigger when it should go out. So in this case, it's immediately after subscribing, but I could do it after an open or after a click, or I could even set a delay. So send after 1 day or even 1 minute. The options here are minutes, hours, and days. So in this case, I'm going to wait 5 minutes after someone subscribes, and then I'm going to send them this first message. What is the first message? Well, I click on next here, and I'm just taken right into the email builder where I can build my message. I'll use the example dummy text here, and then I'm going to go to the bottom and hit save. We'll proceed to the next step. Hit save and activate. Now, very important here, it's not going to send to current subscribers. This will only be for new subscribers. I'll hit save and activate. And then I'm back in my autoresponder list here where I can go ahead and add another message. So I just hit add autoresponder message at the top and I can repeat the entire process. I like this approach because it's not some drag and drop visual grid builder that is overwhelming and complex. Most companies would be just fine with this type of setup. We've gotten so used to feeling like everything needs to be a complex automation that sometimes you put off building your automation at all and you just don't send to your list, which doesn't do anyone any good. If this isn't enough for you, there is automations inside of Blastable. You can go over here to automations and build out a more complex automation. So I'll hit create new up here, give it a name, then I'm going to hit create and build. And here's that complex builder that I was just complaining about. So we've got an action trigger. Basically, it's typically going to be when someone's added to a list or a segment. Then we could do something like send them an email. I can connect these two up. All right, so I'm really struggling to connect the dots here. I'm wondering if this is a Safari issue. So I'm gonna head over to Chrome. Yeah, this is definitely a Safari issue. I'll just show you what happens. I'm still in Safari here. And as I drag the item over, it just kind of stays exactly like this. But if I do the exact same movement inside of Chrome, you can see when I get to a certain point, this bubble kind of explodes or it expands and then they're connected. So everything else so far has worked great inside of Safari, but in terms of the automation builder, it looks like it's going to be a Chrome requirement. Or I'm inside of Arc, but same difference. All right, so back to actually building my automation here. I simply choose a list or a segment. So I'll just do all contacts. And then I'm going to send them an email. I can double click in here and actually write the email that goes out. And obviously I could start from a template. But then kind of a problem is if I decide I don't want to send them an email here, I'm already inside of the email blast creator and there's no way to get out of this screen. They should have an option to close out this window and go back to my automation builder. Instead, I can do it manually, of course, but it's a little bit jarring and it makes me feel like I'm going to lose progress on my work, which I mean, I guess I did. My email is no longer connected. So yeah, I'm not really loving the automation builder, just given the compatibility issues and then the way you get kind of pulled out to write those emails. In terms of the options that are available, we obviously saw that you can send an email. You can also set up an event listener. So essentially here you're waiting for something to happen. The options that they have are to subscribe from a list. Hypothetically, this could be expanded in the future, but right now it's just looking for someone to subscribe to a list. The other options we have are to copy a contact to a list, move a contact to a list, or to use a webhook. Now, again, these are all actions that can take place. We can also just wait or we can end the flow. All right, so here is an example automation. If someone's added to a list, it will wait 5 minutes and then send out an email. Let's configure that. I've already got the blocks added in, so I'm just gonna choose my all contacts list. I'll have it wait. I can set up any number I'd like. So we'll do 5 minutes, hit okay. And then I can send off an email. And obviously that would take us into the editor. Now, what if someone opens that email? I want something to happen if they open the email. I can choose a filter over here. It says choose conditions or choose events. So an event would be something like opening an email. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect this up to the filter. And then I can choose the event as in open. And let's say after 5 minutes on a specific email, I can set it to be any email since I don't have any here. Then it's going to take our user in a different path. And then maybe I send them a different email because they opened the first one. So you can actually build fairly complex automations here. I just don't love the interface all that much. You can see it takes a lot more clicks to get things done. This is why I like the autoresponder setup so much. Creating this entire sequence was, it was all kind of set up for you as the most common type of automation you'd probably be doing. So really cool that they have both autoresponders and automations in the same tool. Just needs to work on the user interface and the execution a little bit. All right, let's check out the email template section. We won't spend a ton of time here as this video is obviously getting a little bit long. So under email templates, I'm gonna hit create new. And you're gonna see, here's my template. I'll just add some copy in here, call it test template. I can add to a category and set it up with a sender profile. We'll drag in some blocks, spruce it up, hit save changes. All right, so here is my test template. Now let's say I wanted to use this for my autoresponder for my next blast. Well, the next time I go to create a new blast, I can simply, fill out all the info here that's required. And now I can simply go to my saved templates, choose the template that I want, and it imports everything in that email so that it's a good starting point. This is really great for repetitive like newsletters that you have the same type of layout every week, but you just update the content. You can do so right here inside of the template setup. All right, next up, we're gonna look at the form building options inside of Blastable. So again, under manage, I'm gonna go to forms, sign up forms. Here we are. Here are the form template options. I gotta say that I've been using the form setup a little bit and I think it has a few issues, probably bigger than the email builder itself. So for example, let's say I wanted to choose this one right here. Opens up in kind of a similar builder to what we saw before, not exactly the same, but if I wanted to add my own background image, maybe I'll click right here. Well, that's kind of hard to do. There's these little options to like make it bigger, okay. I can go over to the style here and there's obviously a background image. I'll try removing that. Okay, it's gone. Let me upload my own background image. Takes me to this screen right here. It says there's no images here. Start by uploading one. Okay, I'll do that. All right, I'm gonna upload these tacos and it says permission failed. I haven't actually been able to upload any images to the form builder itself. It's a little strange. Like there are some templates. Let's go back out to the templates real quick. There are templates where it says literally your logo. And I can't replace these no matter what I do. So clicking on the pencil icon, get that same screen. If I upload a logo, like here's that LTD life, let's upload that. Again, permission not granted, not authorized. Overall, I just feel like the form builder is a lot more difficult to utilize. I have to like click on the object that I want twice And then I can change the content over here. There is no inline editing, which is definitely a bummer. But let's just say that everything works smoothly and I'm done with my form here. I've changed it how I like. I'm gonna go over to the next section and then I can redirect someone after they fill out my form. In this case, I'm just gonna send them to clientamp.com. And then here are my options for what happens after someone fills out a form. I can add them to a list. So all contacts is my default. And then I can choose the opt-in type. Now, remember I said it earlier to be single opt-in, so it defaulted to that. But if maybe for this specific form, I wanted it to be double opt-in, I could change that. So that's a nice touch. Then when I'm all set, I'll hit publish. And then there's some code here that I can copy and paste onto my website in order to get the form to show up. If you don't know how to do that on your website, but you have someone who does it for you, there is an option to email that code to your developer. So good touch there as well. All right, let's just hit on a few settings and then we'll jump back over to AppSumo and look at the plans and pricing. So under settings, we've got our account, we've got our sender profiles. This is again, who is going to be sending the emails. So if you want to have multiple people sending emails from your account, you'd add multiple sender profiles. That is an upgrade on AppSumo. We talked about custom fields briefly. I didn't show you how they worked, but essentially you'll just choose the name of the field, give it a default title. So let's say I wanted to gather someone's X handle. I could go ahead and add that as a custom field. And then here we go. I've got my new custom field, which I could use throughout the platform. All right, we've also got sending domains down here. One thing I will say about Blastable is that they seem to take great care on making sure their deliverability is strong. So you've got to validate your domain. They limit you in terms of how many contacts you can add. And you know what? If your deliverability is not doing well, they will just kind of put you in jail for a little bit. They talk about that in their help docs. So you need to make sure you're not using this as a spammer. That is not what it is intended for. You need to send emails to people who expect to receive them and send them emails that are valuable and helpful, and just generally don't be a jerk on the internet. Always good advice. The last option that I'm going to cover is API keys. So you can create an API key and integrate with other apps. There are a few apps that actually integrate natively with the platform according to their website. I've not tested out any of them, and they're not really apps that I use. Here's the page on Blastable. You can see it works with ClickFunnels, Zapier, Datadojo, SiteMana, Digistore 24, Troy Erickson's Email Paramedic, and ConvertKit. All right, so let's head over to AppSumo and talk about the plans and pricing. $59 is the lowest plan currently. It is on sale. That price increases on September 23rd, which is my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Amy. Let's scroll down to the different tiers here and we can talk about what we're going to get. First of all, I want to point out that tier 1 and 2 are part of the Plus plan, and then 3 and above are part of the Pro plan. So any future upgrades to this platform would be, obviously if you're on the Pro plan, you're going to get more features. So all of the plans get unlimited autoresponders, segments, you can import your contacts, we're going to get analytics, we get sign up forms, email templates, custom fields, and the Zapier integration. But if you want to get even more, you'll need to go to tier 3, which includes obviously an increase in limits. We're going to get up to 100,000 emails at this point, but we get the multiple sender profiles, which I've mentioned throughout the video. We get advanced segment creation, we get marketing automations, and we get custom timed autoresponders. So here is the Blastable pricing page, and you can see the Pro plan right here, as well as the Plus plan. If we compare them, it's identical to the AppSumo deal, and it even uses the same phrasing: multiple sender profiles, advanced segment creation, custom timed autoresponders, and marketing automations. No further info on what that actually means, but if you need more flexibility in your segmentation or in your automations, obviously you'll want to be on the higher tier plan. Like, I don't know, does custom timed autoresponders just mean that you have a much more limited set of times that you can choose when you're creating your autoresponder? Maybe they're more restricted as kind of a way to differentiate the price points. I'm not really sure. If you know, maybe you're from this company, if you're from Blastable, drop me a comment down below and help clarify what these terms are, because multiple sender profiles makes a lot of sense, but advanced segment creation, well, what's considered advanced? What is the difference between the segment creation because we get segments over here. So I'm not really positive on the extra features, to be truthful. It does seem though that the marketing automations, where we have the little graph and we can connect the dots together, that is only for the higher end plan. All right, so it's time for the final score, but before I give you that, do something for me. Click that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It really means a lot. All right, so let's talk final score for Blastable. A lot going on here. I think it does a lot of things pretty well, but it really drops the ball on a few pretty important things, like oh, I don't know, the email on the mobile phone just not looking good was a pretty big showstopper in my book. Also, you got to be concerned about that upload issue where we want to add our own logo and it won't let us do that. So a lot of the platform just needs a little bit more refinement. If they can fix all those things, like I don't think anything here is broken beyond repair or just shows a lot of incompetence, but it's not ready yet, which is a big deal, especially, you know, some of these plans get kind of expensive. Tier 6 is $1,000. If you're going to be investing that much, you expect to have those functionalities working. So I'm going to go ahead and give Blastable a 5.9 out of 10. I'd love to give this thing a higher score. I like a lot of what they're doing, but right now it just doesn't warrant it. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you check out clientamp.com, get signed up for my free email newsletter, check my AppSumo links in the description, and hit me up in the comments if you have any questions, or maybe I just got something wrong. I want to know about that for sure. Once again, I'm Dave Swift. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.